Hello, and welcome to episode 230 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for marketing, advertising, PR, and communications professionals. We are recording live on YouTube on June 1st, 2018, and as always, we have a ton of stuff to cover. We are covering tonight Mary Meeker's report on the state of the internet, unconstitutional blocking, snoozing on GDPR, boy, does that work, programmatic audio, Snarky Sanofi, influencer engine, YouTube's new share options, agency suits, Amazon recording, horrible headlines, officially evil Google, and rebooting routers. I always get to start with the best thing that happened this week, and that is Mary Meeker's highly anticipated 2018 Internet Report. The reason that report is so highly anticipated is that she has never failed to put her finger on the pulse of the Internet and always is spot on with what is happening and is what is going to happen. So I first saw it in Recode with Rani Mola's story. As Mary Meeker knows, the presentation is not meant to be read. I mean, it's not meant to be presented, it's meant to be read. But here are some of the key takeaways. People are still increasing the amount of time they spend online. Incredibly, I read tonight, people spend 8 hours a day online connected to something. US adults, according to her, spend 5.9 hours per day on digital media in 2017, up from 5.6 hours the year before. Some 3.3 hours, 3 of those hours were spent on mobile, which is responsible for overall growth in digital media consumption. More people are using mobile than ever before. As she says, we've hit liftoff with voice, and Dave will tell you a story about that soon. Voice control products like Amazon Echo are really taking off, and the installed base of Echo in the US grew from 20 million in the third quarter of 2017 to more than 30 million in the fourth quarter, and I'm sure it's up since then. The speed of technological disruption also is accelerating. This is really incredible. It took about 80 years for Americans to adopt the dishwasher. The consumer internet became commonplace in under a decade. She said that you can expect more on-demand and internet-related jobs to predominate. One of the things that she noted at the end that I stood up and cheered for, she said lifelong learning is absolutely required if you want to work. And she said the people who tend to be the most up-to-date in their skills are freelancers, because we have to be. China is catching up as a hub of the world's largest internet companies. Currently, China is home to 9 of the world's 20 biggest internet companies by market cap, while the US has 11. 5 years ago, China had 2, and the US had 9. Immigration remains important for US tech companies. More than half of the most highly valued tech companies in the US are founded by first or second generation immigrants. Uber, Tesla, WeWork, and Wish all have first generation founders. So the slides, all 294 of them, will be in the show notes.
I was particularly interested in the employment section of the presentation with the freelance data and the rise. Like, I think freelance jobs or people who are doing freelance work is growing 3 times as fast as the regular labor force. So it's a combination of the appeal of freelance work. I mean, I had my own company for 10 years, was essentially a freelancer, and enjoyed the freedom that allowed me, right? The flexibility of doing what I want, when I want, working how I want. But it's easier than ever now to be a freelancer because the technology that enables that, the work platforms where work comes to you, and the streamlining of all the headaches of being a freelancer, the paperwork, incorporating even is becoming streamlined. So it was fascinating to me reading that part of the report.
You know, in New York, we have now a law called Freelance Isn't Free. And in that law, you can complain to the Department of Consumer Affairs if you have not been paid your freelance fees within 30 days. And, because that's a big problem. Getting paid is a big problem.
Well, in many ways, the law is not caught up to society.
Ours has.
30, well, not entirely though. I mean, the portability of insurance is still an issue. Even, I mean, you know, Trump's trying to claw back Obamacare. That was a big step forward in terms of people working, you know, on their own. So anyway,
simultaneously, 2 more states added a requirement to have insurance or pay a fine. So the states are trying to make up for that deficit. But anyway, the report is a must read. You know, it is absolutely, she is just so brilliant, and she's never failed. Her predictions are spot on every year.
Right. Does the research. So this is my best story, and I saw this coming a mile away. I think we talked about it in previous episodes. This is from a Wired article by Izzy Lapowski and Luis Matsaki. Oh, I completely butchered that, didn't I? So in episode 172, I talked about how my own state senator had blocked me on Twitter following a conversation which he appeared to not like what I was saying. And in episode 193, we discussed how it's a deliberate tactic by Republicans nationwide to block constituents on Twitter. So turns out they shouldn't be doing that. Federal Judge Naomi Rice Buchwald wrote a 75-page decision on the topic, and said that because the @RealDonaldTrump Twitter account is a public forum operated by the government, meaning viewpoint discrimination is strictly prohibited. That is, it's unconstitutional. Legal scholars say it has far-reaching implications by protecting all Americans' rights to communicate with their elected leaders and government entities. And the case hinges on 2 crucial questions. One is whether a public official can block people on Twitter in response to political views without violating the First Amendment rights. And 2, whether it matters that that person doing that is the president of the United States. Quote, the answer to both questions is no. No government official, including the president, is above the law.
Now they're going to stop him.
So here's the question. Will Twitter prevent public officials from blocking constituents?
Doubtful.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, I must tell you, last night I saw RBG, the film about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Yeah. You must go see it. Speaking of what's constitutional and what's moral, and you know, and in the film, which you really are going to love, they have her doing her workout, her daily workout with her trainer, and you know, she does 25 push-ups twice a week. She can hold a plank for 30 seconds. That's not easy. She, you know, full one, not a side one. She lifts weights. She does this stuff where she leans back on ropes. I don't know what they're called, like pulley kind of things. She's amazing. Wow. And she listens to opera while she does it.
Of course.
I listen to the Rolling Stones Tattoo You, but okay, so all by now everybody is just, you know, nauseated by GDPR emails. And you know, the only thing that they did for me was make it easier for me to unsubscribe to lists that I don't remember subscribing to or don't want to be on. So there's a meditation app called Calm, and in an extremely wonderful example of newsjacking, what they said was new laws aren't meant to be exciting, but this one could sedate a buffalo. So they have, one of the areas of their app is sleep stories that are meant to help you drift off to sleep. So this week they added a reading of the GDPR law to their sleep meditations. So their blog post says, as our eyes glazed over reading the 5,509 word, 209-page document, we decided it was a perfect addition to our sleep collection, Calm's signature bedtime stories for grown-ups. Insomnia is a modern epidemic, that's for sure, is what the founder of the company, Alex Chu, said. And so the search for a cure to insomnia is the holy grail. And he says, GDPR may be our best hope. And so what they did was they got Peter Jefferson, who is a former voice of the BBC, to read it. And in the introduction, he says, "I hope to give you a taste of it by reading a lengthy extract from the 107-page introduction. And then, if you're still awake, one or two of the more relaxing articles that make up the real heart of the document." So, and then he says at 5,509 words, the new GDPR regulation is over 43 times longer than the American Declaration of Independence, 214 times longer than the Gettysburg Address by Abraham Lincoln, and nearly 420 times longer than the UK Parliament's bill for triggering Article 50, leading to the withdrawal from the European Union.
So he didn't read the whole thing?
No, because that would have taken all night. That would have taken
Not
all
impressed.
night. Oh, believe me, you'll be asleep.
That's cheating.
Newsjacking is very clever.
It is. So speaking of audio, you know, you and I, Theo, are very interested in keeping up on podcast trends. This is related, not directly, but it is related, and I'll explain why. This is from an article by a Marketing Land article by Ginny Marvin. So DoubleClick, Google's banner advertising platform. The DoubleClick Bid Manager is now rolling out support for buying audio ads programmatically across a bunch of streaming services. The advertisers can buy ad inventory programmatically from Google Play Music. Of course, Google owns that, but also Spotify, SoundCloud, TuneIn, and Pandora is coming. Isn't there yet, but it's coming. Advertisers can upload an MP3 audio spots in a variety of lengths, including 15 and 30-second versions. It can include an optional companion image or HTML5 asset to display around the publisher's audio player. And we'll have reporting metrics that include audio completion rates, listen rates by quartile, so 25%, 50%, etc. Mute and pause rates, audio media costs divided by completes, and impressions, clicks on the companion creative, and more. So, as we've been talking about all along, Google's so well placed to dominate in audio marketing. They are on their way to indexing audio. They've got Google Play Music. They can deliver. They've got the home speaker, so they can deliver podcasts through that. And now they've got the advertising infrastructure. And it looks like this is the first rollout of delivering audio advertising to podcasters to help us monetize our content, but also provide advertisers access to those audiences. So,
well, a couple of episodes ago, we talked about the fact that they're starting to include podcasts in search with a button to play or subscribe. Yep. And that's a big advance for podcasting. You know, that's a really helpful big deal. Absolutely. So, you know, there was I wish I could remember at this moment who did it, but somebody said, you know, people say, I wish I got in at the beginning of blogging, and I wish I got in at the beginning of YouTube. And he said, you know, but when you tell them that this is the next big thing, they're afraid to try it. Now's the time, folks. Yeah. It's time. Podcasting is here. So in another, I guess this was either snark or newsjacking, a little of both. Unless you live under a rock, you know what happened with Roseanne this week. I'm not going to go back over that. Although it's certainly not going to go away anytime soon, and you can go read any of the thousands of articles that have covered it. But what I thought was the good news was that the maker, she blamed Ambien on her tweet that got her fired and said she was in an Ambien fog. And the maker of Ambien, almost instantly, in what I think was a brilliant response, snarky as hell, the company is Sanofi, and they said, well, all pharmaceutical treatments have side effects. Racism is not a known side effect of any Sanofi medication. So I thought that was really pretty cool.
Yeah, it's an example of what we back in the day used to call real-time marketing, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly. You know, but isn't that? I mean, you know, I don't want to get into the rest of it. We could talk about that all night, and I'm sick of it.
No,
but
it was a clever response. Social media was the delivery vehicle, and earned media was the result, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
as
So
so often happens.
yeah. So this was a couple of weeks ago, I think, but I want to talk about last week. Didn't This is from a TechCrunch article by Josh Constein about some leaked screenshots of a Facebook influencer search engine, which is fascinating to me. From the screenshots, you can see that advertisers can select biographical characteristics of the creators' fans, and see stats about those audiences, and then be able to contact those influencers to hammer out deals. So Facebook actually will not broker the deals. They won't take an initial cut, but I imagine they eventually will once
As
they
they do
roll it
with
out, as they
everything.
do with everything, right? But this tool could equip brands with more compelling and original marketing content if you've got brands and creators collaborating on creating content. Encourage people to spend more time with Facebook ads, or encourage advertisers to spend more money on Facebook ads to promote that content, and then encourage people to spend more time on Facebook by making more compelling content for the advertising. And then helping creators make money, so they're not going to go to a different platform or go to YouTube and take the earnings that they can get from YouTube. So it's solving several different problems for Facebook, as well as creating more ad inventory. So advertisers can search for a creator with specific audience demographics using a wide range of targeting options that include countries where they're popular, their interests, gender, education history, relationship status, life events. So a lot of these are Facebook advertising targeting options already. The search engine's results page would show a list of creators that match those advertising criterias, and show the audience's match percentage to search terms, the percentage of the followers they reach, engagement rate, follower rates, view rates, a lot of good data on there. Facebook isn't allowing pure resharing deals. So when advertisers are paying influencers just to share their content, and the tool doesn't bring in audience sizes and metrics from other platforms like Instagram, which is odd because Facebook owns Instagram, but also YouTube, Twitter, Snapchat. It would be ideal if it did those things, so you got a full idea of an influencer's presence. But it's built on Facebook's ad platform, which is very sophisticated. So this is likely to be much more sophisticated than other influencer marketing platforms out there. I've checked out some, and they're not as impressive as what I can imagine Facebook could have. So we'll see what happens there, but interesting development.
You know, Facebook almost seems like it competes with Instagram, even though they own it. I mean, I don't know why they would do that. But anyway, that brings us to terrible news, right?
No, it does not.
Oh, no, you have another good one?
Yep, I do. I just came across this today. This is hot off the presses. Literally an hour ago, I discovered this. YouTube has a new sharing option. So when you click on the share button for a YouTube video, the pop-up screen includes people who you are connected to on YouTube or Gmail or through Google's ecosphere, to which you can share that video directly to those people. So I've got a listing of some of my friends that I'm connected to and it's asking me if I want to share those to individuals on YouTube. So presumably, I haven't tried this yet, presumably they're going to get a message on YouTube when they log into YouTube that I've shared a video directly with them.
Oh, that's interesting. I like that.
Yeah. So we'll have a screenshot of that in the show notes that you can see and try it out for yourself, and tell us whether you've got it or not. If this is I just discovered it. I don't know how new or old it is, but there you go.
So that brings us to bad news. And boy, there was a lot of it this week. A few episodes ago, we talked about Diet Madison, which is an invite-only Instagram account that calls out people in the advertising business who are being accused anonymously of sexual misconduct. And they have been sued. They have been sued in a $10 million defamation suit by Ralph Watson, who's the former creative chief officer of CP plus B's Boulder office. And he filed the suit saying that they called him out and he lost his job and any chance of working at another agency without knowing who his accusers were or what they said about him. He says he has a right to this information, and frankly, I can't help but agree. Diet Madison Avenue, which claims to have 100 agency members participating, countersued and said that they're never going to reveal their sources and that they want Instagram to deal with it. So what a mess, you know? And I mean, the bottom line here is that I understand and I certainly sympathize with and am part of the Me Too movement, but, you know, should you be able to destroy someone's career without saying what he did? I don't think that's American, frankly.
Yeah. We've had this discussion before. There's got to be room for due process. There's got to be room for, we're in a moment of long suppressed frustrations that are exploding out. And when that happens, oftentimes it can go overboard. So that's just something we're going to have to deal with.
It's a scary one, though. It really is. I mean, you know, the guy isn't going to work again.
So this story, there's no transition here. This story is
Could there be?
Is one that will make BL say "I told you so." This is from a VentureBeat article by Kyle Wiggers.
Beat me to this. I wanted to say to you.
So there was a woman from Portland who told CBS News affiliate Cairo TV that her Amazon Echo recorded an audio clip of a conversation and sent it to her person on her contact list. She was alerted to the quote unquote bug when the recipient of the message, it was one of her husband's employees, called her to tell her she'd hacked. So an Amazon engineer speculated that the speaker guessed the command to send a message via the Amazon's voice messaging without asking for verbal confirmation. The quote from the article is, "I felt invaded, a total privacy invasion. Immediately I said, I'm never plugging that device in again because I can't trust it." That's devastating to Amazon. But it is what the speaker does, right?
So no, Amazon, it's not supposed to do that. It's not supposed to send you private conversation.
Well, correct. But it does record. I mean, there's no phones about it. It does record what you say to it. So Amazon's response was, this is a little wonky, but Amazon's response was, Echo woke up due to a word in background conversation sounding like, and I'm not going to say the word, but the wake word for the Echo device. Then the subsequent conversation was heard as a send message request, at which point Echo said out loud, "To whom?" At which point the background conversation was interpreted as a name in the customer's contact list. Echo then asked out loud, "Contact name, right?"
Total bullshit.
Echo then interpreted background conversation as right. As unlikely as the string of events is, we are evaluating options to make this case even less likely. It does sound like, and one of my Echoes is going off right now.
Why?
Oh my God, it's probably sending a message to somebody.
So, I did not say it. I didn't.
So it does sound like a rather implausible, but you know, it could happen, I guess.
One of them? How many do you have?
I've got a bunch of them. There's a Wired article by Lily Hay Newman that explains. So after Echo hears the wake word, they transfer whatever the user says into the cloud for processing, right? So it's recording. It has the ability to send snippets of voice recordings to contacts. That's a feature of the Echo. Once the Echo hears a command to begin a voice message, it double checks that it has the correct contact and then records until the user stops speaking and sends the file off. It's like Echo's equivalent of a butt dial, the article says. And Business Insider's Haley Peterson says that, echo-powered devices always record when they hear and interact with humans. The device records a transcript and audio files of the interactions that are accessible through your Echo app. The recordings help improve the accuracy of the device. But Peterson includes instructions for deleting those recordings, which we'll include in the show notes. But it is how it works. And
so, okay, so law enforcement says, I want your Echo conversations, and they're available.
They are available if it depends on whether Amazon is willing to abide by those requests by law enforcement.
This is too Black Mirror for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well.
It sounds like a Black Mirror episode. So I suppose this makes me a terrible person, and the headline is horrible, but I couldn't stop laughing. The source here is a New York Post story by Marissa Schultz and Nikki Schwab, and it was a tweet that showed the next day's New York Post front page, which said, "The other big-ass summit, Kim Thong-un pitches prez on prison reform." And the main headline said, "Trump meets rump." And that was the front page of the New York Post. Now, I do not consider the New York Post to actually be a newspaper, and that's why. But the story was hilarious. It said it was the commander-in-chiefs. Kim Kardashian strutted into the Oval Office on Wednesday for a sit-down with President Donald Trump to discuss criminal justice issues, including an imprisoned drug offender she discovered on Twitter. She spoke with Trump and Jared Kushner. I guess you didn't know he could talk, whom she met through Ivanka Trump, according to sources. And sources told the Post that Kardashian argued that, I don't know her first name, Johnson, a Memphis great-grandmother convicted for a life sentence of a drug conspiracy, has paid her debt to society after 21 years and deserves clemency. And then the next day, our president, 45, said, "Great meeting with Kim Kardashian today, talked about prison reform and sentencing." And there's a picture of her standing next to him, and he's like grinning ear to ear next to her. I think that it is commendable that she's using her audience to do something that really should be done. But does it take Kim Kardashian to make prison reform happen? With everything else that's going on in this country, is that really how things are happening now? Reality stars get together and they decide how the country's going to be run? I'm sorry, this turns my stomach.
I find myself quoting Hunter S. Thompson a lot more
yes.
A couple of years than I have ever in the past. But my response is, when the going gets tough, the weird turn pro.
And that's exactly what's happening. Oh my God, that's perfect. That's just perfect.
So as the world turns evil, so turns Google. Apparently, there's a lot of articles have been written about this. Gizmodo's Kate Conger reported on it, that Google is apparently distancing themselves from their official motto that has long been "Don't be evil." Apparently, the peace train has left the station at Google. The phrase was removed sometime in late April or early May, according to Wayback Machine. It's been part of the company's motto since 2002, but when Google's reorganized in Alphabet in 2015, the new company assumed a slightly adjusted version of the motto, saying "Do the right thing." BL tells me that they have "Don't be evil" at the bottom.
It's the last line. It says, "Don't forget, don't be evil, try to be good," or I think whatever that is. But
it does appear they're trying to distance themselves from the forces of good.
Well, the whole thing now sounds like corporate claptrap. It sounds like it was written by lawyers, when in the past it sounded like it was written by humans. And I've written corporate policies for companies, and what they need to say is, don't forget you have a day job, you know. I mean, but now you have to be like so much more detailed about, you know, what the consequences are of what you can and can't do, because I don't know, people have no common sense. I don't know what the hell is wrong with people, but you
Well,
have to be specific.
yeah, this one kind of dismays me because I have always thought it was a brilliant move from Google from the start to include that as their corporate motto. It demonstrated that they understood the power that they were dealing with. Right?
Exactly.
And it guided them, and culture starts from the top, right? So if you're building a large corporation, Google certainly is that. Having that as your motto sends a clear signal to all of your employees, and so to see them kind of waffling on it, that kind of sucks.
That's true. I don't have any more bad news. Do you?
One last thing, everybody, reboot your router. I know everybody's read the article. The FBI is telling everybody that they need to reboot their router because apparently more than 500,000 routers have been infected with malware from Russia, of course. So reboot your router will disrupt it, but what you really should do is log into your router and change your password. It's really pretty easy. The routers that are affected are by Linksys, Macrotic, I never heard of that, Netgear, QNAP, and T-Link. So a lot of brand name routers. I did it. You just visit a website, basically log in and change your password, and that'll help us protect ourselves from the Russians.
Well, you know, one day last week, I came into my house and my phone wouldn't connect to my Wi-Fi. And I tried everything I could think of to make that happen. And I turned the phone off. I turned it back on. I knew I had the right password. And then I went on Twitter and asked RCN, you know, what should I do? And then in the meantime, I thought, well, maybe I just have to reboot the router. And so I rebooted the router, but, you know, I do wonder, like, was that what happened? Who knows? But that was pretty scary. So that brings us to shiny new objects.
It does. What do you got?
Well, that was kind of a shiny old object, but it's so hilarious. You know, I don't know if you get as many robocalls a day as I do from numbers. Now they're so clever that the numbers look like they're local numbers. So I no longer answer any phone call that's not identified with a person's name, although many companies don't have their name on their phone numbers. And, you know, I've heard many stories about things like that. But in any case, Roger Anderson decided that telemarketers needed to have a much crueler fate. So he programmed an artificially intelligent bot that keeps them online for as long as possible. It's called Jolly Roger Robot. And what it does is it annoys the telemarketers. So one telemarketer got so annoyed, I was listening to the recordings. He got so annoyed, he said he was going to come to the woman's house and kill her puppy. He was talking to a female robot named Jolly Jenny. After a few minutes, he wasn't getting the response he expected from her, so he says a couple of mildly shocking things. And when she doesn't react, he says something even more shocking. Then he gets intimidating, and he says, "Do you love puppies? You know, you're in trouble, lady. I know where you live." And, you know, these scammers are vulnerable. They're invincible. They're untraceable. They're clearly not monitored or recorded for quality purposes. And they know they can say whatever they want. And there's really nothing you could do about it until now. So after the initial hello, hello, the algorithm makes telemarketers think there's a person on the line with random things like, yeah, right? And it can even detect when a telemarketer is getting suspicious. So then it makes like an inane response that usually convinces them it's a real person. And when it works, brilliant. It's brilliant. And it's hilarious to listen to them. It really is. And no, so she's saying things like, she's talking to the puppy, "Oh, come here, puppy, puppy. Oh, you're so cute. You're so adorable." And he says, "Are you listening to me?" And she says, and she says, "Oh, I have the cutest puppy. Excuse me, I got distracted. Can you start over again?" And this goes on for like 15 minutes. And it's related. I don't know if you remember, but we talked at some point about Scam-A-Lot that Mashable was doing with James, what's his name? Feitch, I think, where he was engaging with email scammers. And, I mean, going back and forth until they finally got like completely sick of him. And that's what this does. And you can choose like 10 different robotic voices. They'll have different stories. One of them's like an old person, and they're hilarious. So you have to have this app.
All right. Well, nothing nearly as funny as that, but very utilitarian. Follow Up Then is a service that sends you email reminders. Just program, you want to be reminded of something, it'll send you an email reminder at the time you want to be reminded of it. There's a free version, and the paid versions are an exorbitant from $2 to $9 a month. So there you go.
That sounds like something.
I send email reminders to myself all the time, but I can't schedule them to send when I need to be reminded, right? So
I put them on my phone to pop up and tell me to do things. But the one that I came across today is called Light PDF. And I don't know, it sounds too good to be true, but it's a free website, and it provides online PDF tools that include PDF converters, editors, and so you can split PDFs, you can merge them, you can sign them, you can unlock them if they have passwords. You can use the service for free without any sign up or subscription. There's no limit on the number of documents. The best part is that it has no file size limit either. So you can convert a PDF to Word, PowerPoint, a PNG, a JPEG, or you can convert those formats to PDFs, and you can edit them and add circles and arrows. And that's the free version. That's online, but there's another version that's $59, and you can use that one offline, and it has all the functions in one tool instead of in several different things you have to click on and drop down menus. But seriously, so what? So I'll put the links to both of those in the show notes, and it's a useful tool, better than, I think, the Adobe PDF reader.
Very cool. Wow. So I have two things that I want to promote. One, it's June 1st, and that means that we published my agency, we published our monthly roundup of marketing reports for May. So I'll put a link to that in the show notes, but I've got a bunch of different things, including Mary Meeker's report. And then I was quoted an article by Anna Dizon for Small Fit Business about contractor lead generation ideas. Among the 21 ideas, mine was optimizing for voice search, of course. That's a particularly important for contractors because they rely on services like Yelp and Angie's List and so forth. Yelp is actually used by Echo for when people ask for local business references. So voice search is very important and increasingly important.
And well, I have one I want to promote too. My side business is Fun Walkers, and those are funny license plates for people who use walkers and rollators. And so Father's Day is coming, and if your father uses a mobility device, you need to go over to Fun Walkers and pick out. We've got scores of funny sayings. My favorite is graduated without Wikipedia, and yes, it was a skydiving accident. That's the one my dad has. And you can get these, they're affordable, they're funny, and they make people smile, and that's the whole goal of the company. So that's funwalkers.com.
Awesome. And you can create your own custom.
Yes, you can, but you better hurry up because Father's Day is June 17th.
All right, let's wrap this up. We usually talk about with closing with statistics. I usually talk about online statistics related to online. This is online marketing beyond social media. This is kind of different this week. We're going to talk about offline statistics. Offline Americans from Pew Research. 11% of U.S. adults do not go online, but that figure is down from 15% in an analysis released 5 years ago. People who are offline are slightly more likely to be women than men. 12% of offline Americans are women. 11% are men. They are more likely to be rural, so that's an access issue often. More likely to have less education, so 35% don't have a high school degree. More likely to be older, that's obvious. 34% are 65 plus, so offline Americans. Who'd have thought?
At this point in time, yeah. But does that just mean that they don't have smartphones that are connected to the internet?
They do not use the internet
at all. I have
all.
neighbors like that. I do. In my on my floor, there's a woman, and down the hall, downstairs, I was talking to somebody just today. Oh, I don't do this internet thing, she said. this internet, that thing. I know people do, but
put a box over it.
Yeah, real. No, she didn't have a computer. She did not have a computer. I mean, that really, that sort of scares me, because I just hope that there never comes a time when I say, oh, who cares about technology? Because I love technology, I mean, I love hearing about it. I'm going to an AI conference at Stevens Tech Institute later in the month. And I'm excited about that. I mean, I want to hear what they have to say and what they're doing. And that should be big fun.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the end of the show. Yes?
It does indeed.
So we thank you for watching episode 230 of the Beyond Social Media Show. You'll find links to everything we talked about today and some videos too at beyondsocialmediashow.com/230. And I'm BL Ochman. I'm on Twitter as What's Next. I blog at what'snextblog.com. What's Next blog on YouTube also. David Erickson is on Twitter as D. Erickson. He blogs at estrategyblog.com and creativepr.com/blog, and he's on YouTube as eStrategy. The Beyond Social Media Show is on the web at beyondsocialmediashow.com. On YouTube is Beyond Social Media Show. We're on Twitter as BS Media Show. We're on iTunes, where we hope you'll subscribe to the show. We're on Stitcher. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on that smart speaker that Dave has in his house that I'm not allowed to say the name of.
Echo.
Oh, yeah, that's her name, all right. And we'll be back next week, same time, same station. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.